Rita Mwima is a mathematical modeler and statistician for Target Malaria, a project under the Uganda Virus Research Institute. She holds a PhD in spatial modeling, and her work in Target Malaria involves using mathematical models and simulations to test the effectiveness of novel malaria vector control tools before implementation.
Because of any escape of the mosquitoes,
Mwima began her professional career with a bachelor's degree in computer science.
and I feel like it was the biggest impact was from my father. He's a lecturer. He said you can add value in terms of how you apply computer science to disease monitoring, disease control. And that's how I got into a master's degree. It was in spatial modeling. I did spatial modeling, and I looked at a disease in New York State, disease called listeriosis, and I looked at the hotspots of that disease.
As she studied, she fell in love, got married, and began having children. That is when the challenges began.
I've been studying and giving birth concurrently, and that has been one of the toughest journeys in my life.
Mwima's husband chose not to allow his wife to hire a housemaid. In fact, she has never had a housemaid since they began living together.
He's been very supportive. He knew what he wanted. He didn't want a helper at home, and so he has been very involved in the children's lives. But also the fact that my parents live close, they live in Kampala. They've also been a very great support system for me.
Angela Nakamanya also works with Target Malaria as an insectary assistant.
When you look at the antenna of the male, they have hairs. Okay, to a person you can think they are like beards.
She spends her entire day observing the transformation of Anopheles mosquitoes from eggs to adult insects.
It's not a coincidence, but it's a calling. Why I say so? When I reflect on my life, I see that all my life has been woven around malaria in the 3 stages. That is childhood, motherhood, and also my professional calling.
Nakamanya is a vector control officer by profession, and for her diploma, she researched the coverage and usage of insecticide-treated bed nets.
But now, moving your hand out.
Nakamanya says a career in scientific research has been difficult. Like Mwima, she got married at a young age. Her husband is also into scientific research.
The challenge I get is leaving very early in the morning. By around 6, I'm away from home, and I reach by 7. So you find that you don't get enough time for your children, for even your partner. Being that also it is a long distance from Gayaza to Entebbe, commuting every day is not easy.
At times, the insectary assistant is tempted to leave her job to care for her young family.
You just wake up in the morning and the maid says, I'm going away. So I feel like now, should I settle down and take care of my children or go to work? But as a woman, I still have to keep moving.
Besides the pressure to balance work and family, the 2 researchers say that as women, it is not easy to climb up the professional ladder. In the field of scientific research, one must write grants in order to receive funding. This means that the researcher must put in extra time to work, take care of their family, and write grants.
There are times when I've come here maybe on Monday, on a public holiday on a Monday, and you find men in office doing the work, and before you know it, they're actually at a higher level, better pay, being promoted, and because you have to balance the family, and you're trying not to annoy your partner because he has allowed you to grow, and then you've grown and you're making it even worse.
Mwima, who has 3 young children, says she has been forced to learn to work smarter since she cannot spend more time at the office.
At some point, I felt like telling my partner, Katandika butandis. But I've given him some time to first, relax after that PhD pressure I had. And then maybe, as a woman, you have to think of how to navigate. We've talked about the fact that you grow out of your comfort zone when you face these challenges.
Currently, Nakamanya is pursuing a bachelor's degree in biological sciences, majoring in zoology and botany. She is in her final year.
But I remember there is a time I had just produced, and that was through a C-section, which wasn't very easy for me to go through, but I was nearest to my exams. What I did, and being that I'm the only lady among all the 8 students who study with the same course, that is the external program, I volunteered to be a class coordinator. Reason being that I knew every work could reach via my email or WhatsApp, or even the lecturers to arrange for lectures. It was through me so that we can arrange lectures.
She commends her lecturers for being understanding of her unique situation.
However, I found more difficult during that time battling with the postnatal, balancing work, balancing parenting, balancing wife responsibilities. However, there is a time I reached and I said, God, I surrender everything to you.
Women's empowerment is a strategic challenge for sustainable development. Systematic barriers prevent women from pursuing research-oriented careers, and gender disparities exist in employment, academic promotions, funding opportunities, and publications.
Find the page empty. So the adults,
However, Mwima and Nakamanya are resilient and determined to advance in their careers despite the ongoing challenges. Gillian Nantume, NTV Tonight.